What's going on, YouTubers? Welcome to another video. So today we're going to talk about the 10 most annoying and most difficult statues to display. Some statues may be tall, but they're actually easy to display, like Darkseid, Steppenwolf. They're not difficult to display. Unless you're using Darkseid's weapon, then it becomes difficult. But other statues are extremely difficult to display. However, I do find that the statues that are extremely difficult to display are also some of the best ones out there. But let's get to it. Number 10 for me is going to be Batman Bust by Infinity Studios. This bust is more difficult than any other of these Infinity busts because of the width, depth, and height, just everything. If you want to angle it like this thing is 3 feet wide, deep, and tall. We're like the likes of Aquaman. Yeah, he's decently wide, very tall, but he's not as deep. He fits on a shelf perfectly fine. He doesn't extend out, where his arm comes out, and it makes it very difficult. All the other Infinity busts in this room are fairly easy to display outside of Batman. He is ridiculously big. If I was to say the second most difficult, ones with their heads angled down, like Joker has to be up high. Ideally, Wonder Woman needs to be up high. Batman, though, is the most difficult of the Infinity DC busts, so he is number 10 on my list. Number 9 is going to be Queen Alien Bust. Now, this is not a very wide bust, but it is very tall, 3 feet plus tall, but it's also just incredibly deep. So this only fits here because this is into a window well. If this was a standard like this shelf, it would not fit on this shelf. I would have to angle it, and therefore it would take up a lot more space. It'd probably take up that much more space, almost an entire shelf, at least 3 feet. The base is pretty big, I'd say maybe even bigger than Batman's. But it's really just that depth. Massive, massive head. Also extremely heavy and very difficult to move. But again, like I said, some of these are... The reasons these are some of my favorite pieces is because of some of these crazinesses. Having a head that's like 3 feet deep. It's crazy. This is number 9. Number 8 is going to be Prime 1 Predator. So this one is difficult for many reasons. One, look how big that base is. It's bigger than the 24-inch garage shelf. It's extremely wide from there to there. I think it's 28 inches wide. Extremely heavy. This thing's like 80 to 100 pounds. Additionally, if you're going to display it with all 4 heads, it takes up a ton of space. On width, the heads take up a lot of space. They're almost, 2 heads is equivalent to 1 statue. But that could be a full statue right there. Additionally, you have all the swap out parts. So that is another difficult reason. And it's also stupid tall, 38 inches tall. Very deep. Additionally, it doesn't scale with anything. Nothing scales with this at all. No, none of my 1/3s do. Half scales won't scale with it. It is really, truly a one-off. The only additional statues that will properly scale is going to be the Prime 1 Predator 1/3s, additional ones. Scar, P2, Berserker, those are the only statues you can truly pair with this, and a life-size bust. That's it. But you can't pair it with any other statue. Otherwise, it just looks out of place, in my opinion. I see people doing it where they pair it even with that big chap, but the thickness of him, and they're supposed to be somewhat similar heights. Look at Cinemaket and how they scale perfectly. With this, it just does not look right. It looks very out of place. So because of that, it makes Predator one of the most difficult statues to display because of the overscaled size. If they had reduced this to Cinemaket size, I think a lot more people would have been happy, because then they could just display it with their entire 1/3 line and not have to worry about scaling. I could just replace Cinemaket. But because of the scale, I can't. So, yeah. So this is number 8. Number 7 is going to be Rotunda TRex. So this is not a super tall statue. There are 0 other statues in scale with this at 1/8. Everything in Jurassic is usually 1/10, 1/6, or 1/15. Even seen some 1/20ths, but this is a truly just like a standalone, because there's only one statue I've seen in 1/8 scale. So that's one problem. 2, the base is stupid big. It is literally 30 inches deep. I have this going like, as you can see, a ton onto this. So the base is just stupid big. Plus, if you want to display this in front, you got to add an extra 3 inches. Granted, this is a Grail and the best Jurassic statue out there. It is a B to frickin' display, folks. So, yeah, that is number 7. Alrighty, the next 2 on the list, 6 and 5, is going to be first Shockwave at number 6, and number 5, Jetwing Optimus. These 2 are ridiculously heavy, so you can't just up and move them. You know, it's an extreme hassle when you have to take apart a statue just to move it. I've only moved him once, and it took me well over 2 hours. I have never moved Jetwing, nor do I plan to, but I would have to completely almost disassemble the statue to move it, because they weigh so much. Additionally, they are extremely deep, especially Shockwave. Because of those giant drillers in the back, he needs a ton of depth. He will not fit on a standard 24-inch. That's why I have him, again, in the window well to allow that extra depth. Also, extremely wide. And then him being even taller, also equally as wide, if not even wider, due to that giant wingspan. You know, so these 2 are extremely difficult to display because of that. You know, they almost both take up an entire 48-inch wide garage shelf. You know, as you can see, I have both of them going onto the shelf, the left and right. But that's going to be 6. That's going to be number 5. Number 4 is going to be Queen Studios Hulkbuster. So this one, many problems with this one. One, it's extremely deep. It doesn't fit on a 24-inch garage shelf at the optimal angles. You can angle it to get it to fit, but, you know, I have this poking out of that shelf. You ideally need 30 inches depth. Additionally, look how wide this is. It's well over 30 inches wide, so it's also freaking ridiculously big, nearly 40 inches. Additionally, it doesn't scale with anything. You know, this is like 1/3 and a half scale. You know, it doesn't scale with any of these 1/4. It's a very overscaled piece. It's extremely difficult to display. It also doesn't look good down low. As you can see, this angle does not look good. That one, on the other hand, does look pretty good down low. Like, it's not a huge deal. This one looks best like that. When you see it like that, you're like, holy shit, this is effing amazing. You know, but I literally have to sit on the floor for me to get good angles on this statue because of, you know, the pose. Again, his head is angled down. You know, which is understandable because Hulkbuster would be looking down. All of his enemies are going to be shorter than him. But Queen Studios overscaled this. They definitely should have made it smaller, lighter. You know, it'd be much more manageable, and I think it'd be a lot more popular. You know, I understand studios trying to go big. They think that big factor, you know, is going to make collectors buy it. However, for me, I'd rather just have it proper scaled. Don't overscale it. Just freaking make it what it should be. Or every statue made by you needs to match up, because that Iron Man is actually underscaled. So you have an underscaled with an overscaled. So it's like, what? You know, like, he doesn't scale with Iron Studios, and this doesn't scale with Iron Studios. So I think Queen really effed up big time on their scaling. Understandably, as you know, they still look good together, and this is a great centerpiece, but it is extremely overscaled, and it's a B to display. Unfortunately, I just can't display it up high. I just don't have the ability to. You know, that's why I've just tried selling it. But seeing as how I've only had maybe 2 people even inquire with a pretty decent price, means that this statue just was overhyped to begin with, and people don't want it anymore. Granted, it still is a grail and amazing, but it's such a B to display that it makes, you know, people not want to buy it. Because for me to lift this up there, for example, you need almost 3 people. I mean, I did actually lower it by myself, removing all the arms and base stuff, but man alive, was it difficult. So yeah, that is number 4. Number 3 is going to be Bruce Lee bust. One of the coolest Infinity Studio busts. Not super tall. However, if you want optimal viewing angle, which is right there, this bad boy is over 3 feet deep. I understand the pose. It's a very cool looking pose. You know, but Infinity should have thought about, you know, collector's ability to display stuff. Like, it's a very cool martial art pose. You know, holding the nunchuck, hand up, very classic Bruce Lee. But goodness gracious, is it a B to display because of that front arm and the fact that one goes back. You know, they really should have come up with some alternative. You know, like even the pose of, you know, the Enter the Dragon, you can see that wouldn't be nearly as deep because his arm is forward and that one's bent. It would have been much more manageable. If you're ever making a life-size bust, don't make it 3 feet deep, folks. It's way too deep. It just makes it such a B to display. Additionally, he needs to be up high because his head is also angled slightly down low, which doesn't make sense because he was a short dude. So I think it should have been more angled up. Then you could probably display it down low. But yeah, because of that, it makes it very difficult to display. But it is also one of Infinity's most realistic best likeness busts out there. But that's number 3. And I'm sure you might have guessed what 2 and 1 is. 2 is going to be King Ghidorah. I mean, good God, look how big that thing is. 1, it's very heavy. 2, it's very deep. It doesn't fit on a standard garage shelf with the tails in the back. Those wings are ridiculously big, so it takes up an entire garage shelf. Also, they have those little spikes that are super fragile, so if I was to accidentally bump it into the wall, bam, that'd snap. Fortunately, that hasn't happened. But it is an absolute B to display. You can't put it down low. You have to have it up high, and it needs an entire garage shelf plus some because of that. So definitely a B to display, but also one of the coolest statues. Although it does not beat out Godzilla vs. Kong, because this takes up more than a full garage shelf, as you can see. You know, the depth is manageable when you angle it like I did. Like, it fits on a garage shelf. It is pretty tall. I haven't tried it down low, but hypothetically, that would be the angle, which actually isn't too bad. So I don't think down low is a horrible thing. As you can see, King Ghidorah doesn't look nearly as good. You know, and if you had it up high, that would be the angle. I think up high would actually be the best angle, because then it'd feel like, you know, you're a human watching this from a distance. I don't know. But yeah, due to the width is the main reason. Not necessarily the height or the depth, but the width. Having a statue that is 58 inches wide is just ridiculous, and it takes up so much space. But in all reality, it is 3 statues. 1, 2, 3. So it is understandable. Nevertheless, this is the most difficult statue to display. The one that we will also name, but we're not including because of the nature of it, is the life-size Endoskeleton. You know, I would definitely say this is the most difficult of everything I own to display. But, you know, it's life-size. But width, depth, especially when you do the gun forward, and the fact it's 6.5 feet tall. So this is easily the most difficult to display. Now, like, it is an absolute B. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I don't buy more life-size. They just take up so much space. They are very cool, but even if I have a life-size, I don't think that fulfills, you know, my complete, like, I still need like a 1/3 of it. Like, I still want the 1/3 endo. This didn't satisfy me to the full extent of, you know, my endo. I need the 1/3. But I do feel like a pair like this fulfills my every desire for Jason, for example. Or endo, 1 life-size. If I had a 1 life-size Jason, it wouldn't be enough for me. I feel like 1/3 and bust is the true satisfaction. But the Endoskeleton is still an incredibly cool one. I do think the version 1 is far superior than version 2, though. But that one's so rare and hard to get. You know, I do like version 2, but I do prefer the 1-gun look, and it has a better base. And I think just an overall better look. Anyways, folks, those are my top 10 most difficult statues to display. Let me know some of yours, and I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.